Welcome back to Book Break. I have got a dark and stormy video for you today because let's face it, the nights are getting longer, the days are getting darker. Like it or not, winter is coming. And with that, I'm in the mood for books with a slightly darker edge. So I've got some recommendations for you today of books that are really atmospheric. Not everything on this list is going to be outright spooky, but if you are in the mood for something a little bit creepy, Leech by Hiron Ennis is the book that everyone is talking about. Leech is a science fiction horror novel set in a post-apocalyptic future, and these alien beings have completely taken over from humans at the top of their evolutionary chain. At least for now. Because now, in an isolated chateau in the very far north, it is discovered that a parasite is spreading through the castle. This book is really weird. It's unlike anything you've read before. It's very gothic, it's very atmospheric, and perfect for reading in the dark. For something else a little bit gothic, Hare House by Sally Hinchcliffe is a modern-day witch story set in an isolated estate in Scotland. In the days of early autumn, just where we are now, a woman arrives at Hare House, having left her last job under very mysterious circumstances. But here at Hare House, nothing is quite what it seems either. In fact, the neighbours are whispering of witchcraft. And when a heavy snowfall traps the inhabitants of Hare House in the estate, tensions rise to a fever pitch. And the sense of isolation that makes those two books so atmospheric has never been so strong as in Haven by Emma Donoghue. This is a very different kind of book from the last two on my list. It's a gentler literary fiction novel, but it is haunting. Haven is set in the 7th century on the remote Irish island of Skellig Michael, and I'm talking really, really remote. 3 men have settled here to build a new religious community and to leave the world they know completely behind them. And the intensity that builds with these 3 so far away from the rest of humanity is incredible. And talking of leaving the world behind, you could read Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. So in this book, a family have rented a stranger's house for a holiday, but in the middle of the night there is a knock on the door. And it is the couple who say they own the house, and they say they've got nowhere else to go. A power outage has swept through the city, the internet is down, the phones are down, and panic is taking hold. This book is very hazy on the facts, which leaves you with such a strong sense of dread. Something terrible is happening, but you don't know what it is. It's a very dark and mysterious book. It's bordering on dystopia, but without ever really letting you into what the dystopia is. For a different type of dystopian novel, The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings is a feminist speculative fiction novel about a future in which the government controls all unmarried women over the age of 30 in fear that they may turn out to be witches. Our main character Jo is approaching 30 and she doesn't want to marry, but her alternative is to completely hand over her autonomy to the state or risk suffering her mother's fate. Her mother was a woman thought to be a witch, and she vanished without a trace 14 years ago. And then I've got some classics. So for something really dark and stormy and violent and subversive, Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. This is a book about the terrible violence that humans are capable of, told through the perspective of a 14-year-old boy who is swept up in it all. And this book has one of the most terrifying villains of all time, Judge Holden, who is a timeless, ageless personification of pure evil. And finally, for possibly the darkest, stormiest book of all time, it's a classic. Can you guess what I'm gonna say? It's wily, it's windy, it gets dark, it gets lonely. It's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I almost burst out into song there. Wuthering Heights tells the story of a toxic love story between 2 fairly awful people, Cathy and Heathcliff. And love it or hate it, this book has stood the test of time for its portrayal of their dark, stormy, passionate, but self-destructive love affair. Let me know in the comments below your recommendations of dark, stormy books to suit your mood at this time of year. If you're looking for more dark book recommendations, I've got plenty more where that came from. I will link to 2 videos here, one on dark books by women and another on dark Scottish writing. So do click through to either of those and get more recommendations, and I'll see you next time.